Here's a look at today's headlines across Houston. Hello, I'm Len Cannon. It has been 2 weeks since Lorenzo Salgado was shot and killed by an ICE agent in Houston's East End. We later learned from federal officials that Salgado, a Mexican national, was not the person they were looking for. I spoke with two of Salgado's sons about the emotional toll this tragedy is taking on their family and suddenly being thrust into the national spotlight. Lorenzo Salgado Jr. and his brother Ronaldo say it's been a sleepless 2 weeks of sadness and grief.
It's been a really hard 2 weeks that we'd like to forget, but in those same 2 weeks, we've seen beautiful community response.
It's been a whirlwind, a roller coaster. You know, we've experienced the lowest of the lows that no one in humanity should ever suffer.
ICE agents confronted, then chased the van their father was driving on the morning of July 7th. Agents say Lorenzo Salgado was undocumented. He had been in the U.S. for 35 years. Was there ever any concern that your father could be confronted at some point? Ever worried about it? Ever discuss it?
There's always that risk. There's always that fear. And every day, every day my dad would say a little prayer before heading off to work, hoping that he would come back.
This time, he did not. He was shot and killed by agents.
ICE out of Texas now!
There have been daily protests about the shooting. The young men know the political talk surrounding this story, but say it's really to them about right and wrong for a man they say went to work every day, helping to put them through college, Tufts University and the University of Houston. Does justice mean somebody should be charged?
I don't think they're able to answer that question at this time.
The family's attorneys would not allow them to answer questions about evidence or charges, but made one exception. Story has come out. FBI said in an affidavit that they found what looked like meth in the van. And I wonder what you made of that.
I thought it was extremely ridiculous for them to think that of my dad.
He says there's a simple explanation.
My mom would typically put her own electrolyte mix in little sandwich baggies. It's a quick, cheap, easy way to get some extra electrolytes in.
The family went from living normal lives to becoming the face of protest. And with multiple investigations likely to last for months or longer, it's a long road ahead.
I really want to keep fighting for my father and get to some version of justice.
I'm in for it. We're in for it. It's what Mom wants. It's what Dad would have wanted.
It's what Grandma wants.
It's what Grandma wants. The work needs to be done, and it needs to get done.
The man accused of setting an apartment complex on fire that killed his own brother, making his first court appearance. Investigators say Matthew Atwater admitted to starting the fire after an argument. Devon Rahman with the story.
Well, this morning we learned new details in the deadly arson case involving Matthew Atwater. This came moments before the judge ordered he be held without bond.
All right, no bond.
Atwater is charged with felony murder and arson, and according to the probable cause statement read in court, Atwater lived in apartment 1101 at the Cypresswood Apartments with his mother and brother. Prosecutors say neighbors reported hearing arguing and breaking glass coming from the apartment before the fire. And investigators say Atwater initially told them he had been cooking chicken and during an argument with his brother threw a gas can against the wall. But according to court documents, prosecutors say Atwater later admitted he poured kerosene across the apartment floor and used a lighter to intentionally set the apartment on fire following the argument. The fire killed Atwater's brother, badly injured a 3-year-old child in a neighboring apartment, and forced dozens of residents from their homes. Atwater was ordered held without bond, and he's due back in court for a bond hearing in 2 weeks. Now, prosecutors initially asked the judge for a $500,000 bond, which was denied. The judge also ordered that Atwater undergo a mental health evaluation. In downtown Houston, Devon Rahman, KHOU 11 News.
A Houston man is about to get one heck of a refund after we shared his story with you earlier this week. It turns out he was paying someone else's electric bill for over a decade. Cheryl Mercedes explains how it happened and has the response from Centerpoint.
Hey there, friends. Have you checked your electric meter yet to make sure the number on there matches the one on your bill? Because yesterday I told you about a Houston homeowner who thought something just wasn't adding up, and now he says he's getting a big refund. After our story, Mr. Yan says Centerpoint reviewed his account and found he's been overpaying his electric bill for 14 years. This is going all the way back to 2012. And now he's told he could be owed nearly $14,000. Centerpoint tells us they're still working with him to make sure he gets every dollar he is due. It is a big turnaround and a reminder to check your own bills closely. If something doesn't look right, ask questions, request a review or do it yourself, and don't be afraid to keep pushing for answers, because in Mr. Yan's case, speaking up could mean tens of thousands of dollars back in his pocket.
Really quite something. E-scooters and e-bikes are growing in popularity, but so do concerns about safety. This week, Harris County Precinct 4 asked 6 school districts to consider banning unregistered electric motorcycles from campus. And city leaders in Fulshear are taking a closer look at what is happening in their community. Here's Jalissa Garza.
Fulshear already regulates where scooters and similar devices can be ridden. Under the city's current ordinance, scooter riders must use a sidewalk when one is available and come to a complete stop before crossing a street. Parents or guardians are responsible for riders under 15, and violations can bring a fine of up to $500. Police reported 9 bicycle or scooter crashes over 9 months, including 4 in school zones. Only 2 involved e-scooters, and the scooter rider was not at fault in either crash. Fulshear Police Chief Brandon Harris says the department's crash reports had not consistently distinguished between e-bikes and traditional bicycles, but it is now tracking that difference. On Tuesday, Fulshear City Council discussed a safety course, restrictions on city property, and a possible ban. Chief Harris said the city first needs to be clear about which device it is trying to regulate.
I think from a city standpoint, we've done everything that we possibly can, education-wise, intervention-wise. Yeah, we have to make a decision as to what we want to do. But again, are we talking scooters or are we talking bicycles?
Rider permits and age-based helmet requirements also came up, but the police chief said those ideas create their own enforcement questions.
And I can't very well stop people just because I don't think they're 15. We talked about the permitting. That's great. But how do I know who has a permit and who doesn't, who took the class and who didn't?
No changes were made Tuesday night, so Fulshear's existing rules remain in effect while city leaders continue exploring their options. Jalissa Garza, KHOU 11 News.
That is a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Len Cannon.
I'm Chris Lawrence with your top stories in North Texas. After years of running down leads, detectives think they finally cracked a cold case from 2012. Scoop Jefferson is in Arlington with new developments in that murder.
Even after years of investigating murders, the detective in this cold case fought back tears, sharing the moment she contacted the family, telling them their loved one's killer had been found.
Being able to share that.
Emotions caught Arlington homicide detective Tracy Dixon by surprise, talking about telling her victim's family waiting for justice.
Everybody who touches a case like this feels that elation when it's solved, feels the pain for the family.
That pain came after officers found 32-year-old Iracema Chavez inside her South Collins Street apartment, stabbed more than 100 times in January 2012. The strongest lead back then, this video, Dixon says, of Chavez opening the door for her attacker. Other evidence, blood police say the killer left behind, recently added to a family tree database by Dallas FBI through its genetic genealogy program.
Law enforcement continues to work through each member of that family tree, trying to limit that number of individuals until we determine a likely suspect.
Court documents say the unknown DNA belongs to a Hispanic female, leading to undercover officers confiscating plastic forks they say 42-year-old Myra Velasquez used at lunch with friends. Velasquez, a friend of Chavez, identifies herself on Facebook as a realtor with a local real estate company. Now, police say DNA from her fork matches the blood from the crime scene. Velasquez faces capital murder, and Arlington PD saying it adds yet another cold case to their solved list.
Our homicide unit has actually solved about 13 to 14 cold cases.
In Arlington, I'm Scoop Jefferson.
Carmelo Anthony's attorneys are seeking a new trial. It has been 6 weeks since a jury convicted Anthony of murder for stabbing Austin Metcalf at a track meet in Frisco. He's currently serving a 35-year sentence, but his legal team claims there were legal and constitutional errors during the trial. Prosecutors say Anthony received a fair hearing, and after hearing extensive evidence, the jury returned a unanimous verdict. A newly appointed judge is reviewing all the post-trial claims right now. A trip to the new Universal Kids Resort took an unexpected turn, leaving some guests stranded high above the ground. Richard Solomon explains what happened Wednesday in Frisco.
This is Akash Thakur.
It was not that really scary.
He loves roller coasters, and on Monday, it was his first time testing out Universal Kids Resort.
Akash is stuck on the Jurassic Park ride.
But the thrill came to an unexpected stop.
My reaction was, oh my gosh, not again, because this has happened to him a few times.
His mother, Marilyn, recorded as he and others were stuck on a ride in the air.
We were stuck up there for maybe 5 or 6 minutes.
It was 15 minutes.
15?
Mm-hmm.
Marilyn says this happened to him before at another park. And according to a spokesperson with the resort, a technical issue briefly paused the ride. The fire department was called as a precaution, and no one was injured.
It was more just how long are they going to be up there because it's very hot.
And she shares that concern with other parents. Earlier this month, some folks took to social media about the lack of shade. But the resort says it's already working to fix that issue. They said they will continue to enhance the park experience over time and add more landscaping and more shaded elements. There are already numerous splash pads and cooling stations available.
Guess what?
What?
I thought there was a good view up there.
So while his first visit included an unplanned pause, it doesn't sound like this will be his last.
Oh yeah, I'm not blaming the park. It's a new park.
Akash, I'm right here. Be careful.
I'm sure they're still working the kinks out on the rides.
In Frisco, I'm Richard Solomon.
A dental office is preparing to reopen in Fort Worth after a 4-year-old child died while receiving care. A sign posted outside Cuddle Kids Dental Care says the office is closed through July 23rd. The practice is normally closed on Fridays, meaning next Monday would be its first day. Police arrested Dr. Chriselle Hempel about a week ago, several months after the procedure. The medical examiner found Aitana Arriaga had twice the sedative in her system than what's safe for adults. Hempel told investigators she tried to give her a drug to reverse that sedative, but failed to administer Narcan, which might have saved her life. Public health officials are warning everyone to be aware of how quickly extreme heat can overwhelm you. Adriana de Alba shows us how agencies are mobilizing in North Texas to combat this heat wave.
The afternoon sun is unrelenting. This week's dangerous heat is oppressive.
And this is the first time I brought my girls in here.
It has parents like Gabriela Rodriguez getting their kids out.
And this keeps them cool, keeps them entertained,
while trying to keep them safe. This week, we're getting the hottest temperatures of summer, with triple-digit heat lasting days.
It's extremely, extremely dangerous for our unhoused neighbors.
The Salvation Army opening 4 hydration stations and 13 cooling stations all across DFW today.
This is a tremendous relief for those families who are experiencing weather, particularly on triple-digit days like today.
And free fans at this site in Arlington.
100.
A reprieve from brutal temperatures.
Stay inside, right, and stay cool. I think that's how you're going to get through this.
Dr. Joseph Chang with Parkland Health says they're seeing an uptick in heat-related cases. That's typical this time of year. Parkland has treated 16 patients for heat-related illness in July alone.
We all know, right, when you get hot, you're supposed to sweat, right? And one of the biggest things that people start to see is when you stop sweating, things tend to go bad.
We may be over summer, but summer's not done with us. In Arlington, I'm Adriana Dalba.
Well, given how fast water evaporates in extreme heat, it might make leaks harder to find. Brittany Costello shows us how Arlington sniffs out any issues with a little help from man's best friend.
Some days,
food or a toy.
a little motivation
It has a nice treat
goes a long way,
after he gets done doing what he's supposed to do.
especially for one City of Arlington employee
He's a people person.
who has a big job to do
We're going to put water in this and go hide it in this field.
to find and detect water leaks.
And you leave him in the truck so he can't cheat.
His name is Splash.
You ready? Go search.
It doesn't take long. Splash alerts his handler, Richard Everhart. He's found something.
Yes, good boy.
This is just practice. At the Arlington Water Utilities Department, Director Alex Whiteway says
water is blue gold.
The stakes are much higher.
It's so important to us. We need to take care of that resource.
Satellite imaging maps out possible leaks.
All these are points of interest.
Then Splash uses his nose.
Pouring in the water is what they hone in on.
To detect what you can't see on the surface. This water leak a few years back sent thousands of gallons running underground.
Everhart says the extreme heat likely won't cause a water leak, but it will make one much more difficult to find, thanks to the rate at which the water evaporates.
Which makes Splash's job even more important. Since starting in January,
I was kind of skeptical, to be honest.
Everhart says he's accurately detected 16 leaks, saving the city water and unnecessary excavations.
It gets expensive very quickly. Just a panel in a road, that's $10,000 or $12,000.
But it's not all about the savings for Whiteway.
Happiness.
Splash is a big boost to morale. The shelter dog turned leak detection canine.
All right, buddy.
Now has a home, his own coin, and a community he is eager to serve. In Arlington, I'm Brittany Costello.
They keep finding new ways to utilize dogs' incredible sense of smell. Pretty cool. And those are your headlines from North Texas.
Well, Texas, southeast Texas, is forecast to take a direct hit from a very weak but still tropical storm, Bertha, as we head into Thursday morning through Thursday afternoon. The low-level center will move in here. Because of the upper-level winds, we think a lot of the rain is going to be into deep South Texas. So a breezy day for Houston, Galveston, the upper Texas coast. It does move in further in weekends as we head into Friday. But again, although the low-level center is here, you're going to see as we look at the rainfall forecast that it's deep South Texas that actually gets the bulk of the rain. The rest of the state for the next couple of days, we expect to be quite dry. Coastal impacts. There is a tropical storm watch for the upper Texas coast, but it's very limited impacts here. We may see gusts of 40 or 45 on the coast, weaker gusts inland. There'll be increasing surf, could be a little bit of coastal erosion, but it doesn't look like we're going to see any type of significant surge threat for the upper Texas coast and marine interests. I think the future track really tells the story with the forecast radar. There's your system Thursday morning. See how it's lopsided with the rain to the south. Normally, this would be the dirty side of the system, but because the upper level winds are cutting across the storm, they're pushing the rain further south than it normally would be. So as we head into Thursday afternoon, breezy for Houston, Galveston, a few scattered showers, but look where the rain is. It's heading toward the coastal bend. So Corpus, Rockport, down to the King Ranch and Brownsville, you have a much better chance of seeing the rain run through there Thursday night and then quickly into Mexico. And the rain comes to an end by Friday morning. Again, the rest of the state just misses it, where normally we would expect to see more rain coming in on the dirty side. Just not the case with Bertha this go-around. Rain totals, potential now through Friday. Really it's South Texas, Corpus to the King Ranch down to Brownsville and to folks near the Rio Grande pushing into Mexico. That's where the heaviest rain's forecast to be. A few scattered showers, Houston, Galveston. There could be a couple of scattered showers, San Antonio to Austin. But that's about it, less than a half inch. A few scattered showers up in from Lubbock to Amarillo are possible, but those will just be your garden variety afternoon scattered showers for the next day or two. Really, overall, most of the state is dry for the next couple of days. Temperatures kind of reflect that. Thursday afternoon, high temperatures, hot and dry. Lubbock 103, Midland 102, Del Rio 104. Less heat on the coast from the showers coming in from Bertha, but Dallas goes to 101 Thursday afternoon. And Friday morning, we wake warm and humid and sticky. And then it is hot and dry. 102 in Lubbock in the afternoon on Friday. Midland 99, El Paso 100. Very little rain chance. 99 in Dallas, San Antonio 99. Houston back to the mid-90s. So that is where we stand, Texas. Back to you.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. A shooting sent pickleball players running and ducking for cover. The attack happened on Tuesday night in Stillwater Ranch, a community on the far west side. Sue Kalberg has the shocking video and the details.
The shooting was reported right here on Emmett Grove. It's right across the street from the Stillwater Ranch Community Park. Now, one of the neighbors told me they found a lot of shell casings right here in this intersection, but they apparently missed one. That looks like a shell casing right there.
Deputies found spent shell casings, but no victims and no suspects after this. They also found 2 houses and 3 vehicles that had been hit.
There is glass everywhere. And she got scared and she would start walking in the house, screaming to the brothers, siblings, saying, "Get down, get down."
Yolanda lives just over 1/2 mile away. She says investigators told her one of the slugs traveled that far, penetrated one of her windows, and is lodged in a closet door.
So to see a bullet coming through the window was totally unexpected. Yeah. But fortunately, everybody's safe. Nothing worse happened.
Investigators say shortly after the shooting, a man showed up at a nearby urgent care clinic with a gunshot wound to his lower body, but he was questioned, uncooperative, and not charged. So far, they've charged an 18-year-old woman with tampering with evidence, and they say a 17-year-old male is involved too, but they have yet to release his charges.
There are surveillance cameras all over this neighborhood, and the sheriff says if anybody has security footage or other clues, they'd be happy to talk to anybody who could help. The number to call if you have clues is 210-335-6000. In Stillwater Ranch, Sue Kalberg, KENS 5.
An animal sanctuary in Bulverde was flooded out after last week's heavy rain. As Simone Simpson shows us, now they're recovering from the damage.
The flood spared the animals, but not their home. Winding Branch Ranch is working to repair major damage left on essential infrastructure. Look at how high the water got on this barn, at least 2 feet.
And there is a clear river running through to the pasture right now.
Hours of relentless rainfall a week ago.
I completely forgot about our billboard at the end of the street.
So we've got our pipes that have come up, we've got different fencing that needs to be replaced, our barn was underwater, and also some of the animal habitats took on so much water that we're having to replace the actual location of them and move them to another side of the sanctuary.
Not only that, the driveway also needs patching up, but none of this will be cheap.
Our electric and our water alone with the trenching is going to cost over $25,000 to $30,000. Moving the pig pen over to a more, a place that's on higher ground is going to cost over $30,000.
A sanctuary built on rescuing critters like goats, pigs, and donkeys, and cultivating life now needs the support of the community.
We rescue farm animals from all over the South Central Texas region. We educate kids about the connection with land and soil health, where their food comes from.
Recovery could take up to 3 to 6 months.
We've been completely funded by donors up to this point, and while we're looking for some grants, we really need the public support right now to help us out.
We'll have a link to their GoFundMe on our site at kens5.com. Reporting from Bulverde, I'm Simone Simpson, KENS 5.
An Ingram family is dealing with devastation after floodwaters washed away much of their property, including dozens of animals and kangaroos. Here's KENS 5 reporter Zach Briggs.
We thought we were going to die.
It was just before 3 in the morning on Thursday when Philip and Julianne Torres found themselves overcome with terror as floodwaters instantly invaded the property. The Torres family stranded on the second floor.
It's a horrifying feeling. You're in a horror movie.
The house started to creak and we heard windows breaking and doors going, and there was a loud crash which turned into another building hitting our house.
Eventually rescued, one of their dogs, Burrito, did not make it, but Juicy is still kicking and appears to be loving life today.
And then we'll keep a tally, too, of what we come across.
As for the Torres' exotic animals they've raised for more than 10 years, several were caught up in the floods and died. Some survived.
Come on, guys.
We had 11 kangaroos, 4 little babies, 3 of them still in the pouch. and the rest were adults.
And this is one of 2 shelters that house the kangaroos. During the flooding chaos, these structures were tossed around the property. The kangaroos washed away. And at this point, the Torres family believes it's a recovery mission.
The kangaroos especially, they can't live off the land.
Special diet. Yeah, if anybody sees any hopping around, holler.
We'd like to find them.
That would be an answer.
If not, just to get them back.
7 of the 11 kangaroos have been found dead. Meantime, members of the nonprofit American Regulators USA out of Cincinnati, Ohio, are on the ground.
We are no stranger to this area. We were here last year after the July 4th flooding.
The group is working directly with Kerr United and the Ingram Fire Department to provide immediate relief to so many.
And we are trying to help the best that we can to provide food for the animals that remain here, to provide storage for what is left that they're picking up.
And as for the Torres family, they're simply grateful.
It means a lot because we are so inundated with the devastation that we don't know. I mean, we never thought this would ever happen to us. We had a beautiful place here that we built over the years that we loved.
It's amazing what the nonprofits have done for us.
Zach Briggs, KENS 5.
And that's the news in San Antonio.
I'm Adrian Carbajal. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. After up-and-coming boxer Hannah Rapp was struck and killed in Brazos County, questions are circling about Texas law and repeat offenders. Our Sydney Walker spoke with a local attorney on why, despite a lengthy criminal record, the man accused of manslaughter in her case was able to be out on bond at the time of her death.
Rising professional boxer Hannah Rapp died Saturday, July 18th, after investigators say she was intentionally struck by a vehicle while riding her bicycle along FM 159 in Brazos County.
Why is that person on bond anyway? Well, that's the law.
The man accused, Charles Medina, was out on bond for another case at the time of Rapp's death.
He went before a magistrate judge, was given a bond. He posted enough to get out, so they let him out.
With no prior felony convictions.
The way the law is written, misdemeanors don't create enhanceable offenses normally.
But accused of driving recklessly while firing a gun at a parked vehicle and charged with deadly conduct, criminal mischief, and reckless driving.
Typically, most of the time, our clients don't commit crimes while on bond, but in this case they did, and I could see why the family would be upset by that.
Now, Rapp's coach and family are working to create what they call Hannah's Law.
In this particular case, I don't think it would apply. The prior violent criminal acts, he's not been found guilty of.
The goal would be to prevent repeat violent offenders from being released on bond.
I think the idea would be something that the public would generally like. It wouldn't apply in his case.
He's back in jail, and Medina's bond on his past charge for deadly conduct and discharge of a firearm was revoked. The state can ask the court to increase the bond.
On cases where they believe the defendant poses a danger to the public, they can go make that argument to the district judge now and have the district judge increase the bond.
Pritchard did say prosecutors could also use his actions while out on bond to argue for higher sentencing as well. In other news, more big-name stores and trendy restaurants are moving to Waco thanks to a campaign by the city. I talked with city leaders about how they're using all of their resources to bring these retailers right here to Central Texas. Waco's shopping list is growing, and city economic development leaders say that's no accident. Behind every new store is years of research, sales data, and persistence.
We have a list of over 130 brands that we feel are missing and could thrive in the city, and so we go after those.
The city tracks where people are leaving Waco to shop, then takes that information straight to some of the country's biggest retailers. One of their biggest selling points, Central Texas Marketplace, which sees more than 7 million visits a year.
And I've been told multiple times that by these brands, I had no idea that Waco had something that was thriving like that. And so it's always exciting, and you can even see some of that momentum with Sprouts going in there and a few of those other new brands.
Sometimes the answer isn't immediately yes. Pacina says the city spent 4 years trying to convince TJ Maxx that Waco could support another store. Now it's coming.
Man, we laid the groundwork, and we kept sending those reminders that, hey, Waco is not what maybe you're underestimating it. And so it's great to see them coming, especially in economically tough times. They're coming because they know they're going to come and they're going to do well. I know our residents will support the brand very well here.
So what about the names everyone keeps asking for? Costco, Trader Joe's, or Cheesecake Factory? Piscina says they're still making their pitch.
We go to them and we just try to tell them again, look, this is why this would make sense for you. We're definitely going after them, and I think we're going to continue until, even if they tell us no, we're just going to keep refining until we get them here.
City leaders say Waco's location between Dallas and Austin, Baylor University, Magnolia, and a growing regional shopping base will continue to help put the city on the radar of more national brands. Piscina says some companies can take years to decide where to expand, so while there's no timeline for names like Costco or Trader Joe's, they say they'll keep making the case that Waco is ready. And those are your headlines from Central Texas.
Hi, I'm Dan Millay, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. East Texans got their first taste of triple-digit temperatures recently. With a heat advisory in effect, health officials are reminding everyone to take precautions before spending time outdoors. CBS 19's Blake Neubauer reports.
The summer heat turned up another notch Tuesday as Tyler reached 100 degrees for the first time this year. With the heat advisory in effect, people across East Texas were looking for ways to stay cool, whether they were working, exercising, or simply just spending time outside.
Make sure you drink lots of water with maybe some electrolytes. Take some breaks. Wear clothing that can wick moisture away from your skin.
Paramedics say the combination of extreme temperatures and the East Texas humidity can quickly overwhelm the body's ability to cool itself. Early warning signs include headaches, nausea, heavy sweating, and confusion, symptoms that should not be ignored.
If you start getting a headache, like developing a headache, that's an early sign of getting overheated. Very, very thirsty, just not feeling well.
While anyone can suffer from heat-related illness, experts say young children, older adults, and people with medical conditions face an even greater risk. For Tyler resident Jason Quintanilla, staying ahead of the heat has become a part of his routine before stepping onto the tennis court.
Staying hydrated, make sure either you bring a bottle of water, make sure you put some ice in it because no one wants to drink hot water.
Jason knows those dangers firsthand after suffering heat exhaustion during a high school tennis match, an experience he says taught him to never underestimate the Texas heat. Health officials say if someone loses consciousness or has a seizure, it could be a medical emergency and it would not hurt to call 911. With temperatures expected to stay high throughout the week, the best defense is simple. Drink plenty of water, take frequent breaks, and don't wait until you feel sick to get out of the heat. In Tyler, I'm Blake Neubauer, CBS 19.
An East Texas man accused of cockfighting is getting his roosters back after a judge dismissed the case against him on Wednesday morning. Last week, Justin Hart was arrested after authorities seized 174 roosters and 7 hens from his property near Grand Saline. Investigators accused Hart of cockfighting, but his family insisted the birds were being raised legally for breeding and poultry shows. In Wednesday's hearing, the Van Zandt County District Attorney asked a judge to dismiss the charge, saying there wasn't enough evidence to move forward.
Overwhelmed with nothing but enthusiastic joy. The state done the right thing and they realized that they did not have a case against me. They did not.
The judge also ordered Hart's birds, equipment, and other property returned. Hart says all 181 birds will be returned to his property once they can be transported safely in this summer heat. And that's a wrap for your East Texas headlines. I'm Dan Millay.
I'm Quita Culpepper in Austin. A man accused of going on a killing spree in Austin and San Antonio appeared in a Travis County courtroom on Wednesday for a pre-trial hearing. Shane James Jr. is accused of killing his parents in December 2023. Investigators say he then drove from San Antonio to Austin, killed 4 more people, and injured multiple others. Austin police arrested James after a chase. He faces more than a dozen charges. He was initially ruled incompetent to stand trial, but his competency has been restored. James' trial is expected to begin in October. Austin police are searching for the person who killed a woman and left her body outside an apartment complex in southeast Austin. It's been a month since Francesca Ortiz was found dead, and now her family is offering its own reward, hoping to bring her killer to justice. KVU's Jose Alonso spoke with Ortiz's daughter about why she refuses to give up hope.
It feels like time is just paused right now.
Austin police continue to investigate a homicide in South Austin. A month later, a suspect is still at large.
My mother was murdered, and we have a lot of unanswered questions. No clues, no leads, nothing.
On June 17th, Austin police received multiple 911 calls at Waters at Bluff Springs apartment complex.
Officers arrived on scene and located a approximately 40-year-old Hispanic female with apparent trauma to her body.
That woman was Seneca Machuca's mom, 40-year-old Francesca Ortiz, seen in this security video shortly before her death.
And anybody who does these type of things, they need to be locked up and put away.
Machuca says her mom was a big personality, and even though they didn't always see eye to eye, there are too many memories captured through these photos.
She was fun, she was crazy. When Snapchat dropped, the filters dropped, oh my goodness. She went crazy. She thought they were the cutest things ever. She loved taking pictures of herself, but not only of herself, but with her family. And she just wanted us to have memories. That was always her saying, I just want memories. We gotta make memories. We gotta make memories.
Ortiz was laid to rest on Monday. Her daughter wears this ribbon that says #JusticeForFrenchie, her mom's nickname. Machuca is now offering a $1,000 reward for any information submitted to Crime Stoppers that leads to an arrest.
This is our last hope of, it being like us catching the murder off of tips, basically. Other than that, we're relying on the detectives.
There are multiple unanswered questions this family faces, including why Ortiz was at this apartment complex before being found dead. APD tells KVU detectives are actively working this case, and no new information can be shared at this time. In South Austin, Jose Alonso, KVU News.
Ortiz's daughter is encouraging anyone with information to call Crime Stoppers at 512-472-8477. She and the rest of her family are waiting for justice as they continue to grieve. Austin city leaders revealed Amazon as the first prospective tenant in a massive development planned for an unoccupied portion of land east of Highway 183. The new development would take up about a tenth of this 2,600-acre site known as Dog's Head. KVU's Adam Bennett has more.
At his home on Hergott's Lane Tuesday afternoon, outside on the upper deck,
it's pretty wild.
Garrett Tung looked at what drew him here 5 years ago.
It's the river.
While talking about what keeps him in the Dog's Head area of southeast Austin.
I read a quote somewhere recently that was like, if you think Austin is losing its weirdness, you're going to the wrong neighborhoods. Hergott's Lane has got that weird.
A weird street widened under a 45-year deal City Council approved in May with Endeavor Real Estate Group. Tung says he first heard about it 2 days before the vote.
You see a trail running through my living room, and so that's just, it's shocking. Someone above you just decided to take what you have.
Earlier at City Hall, Tung and others lent their voice.
How much water are they going to need? How much power are they going to need? What is that going to do to our rates?
And their eyes and ears for neighbors that had to work. On Thursday, council could vote to create a tax increment reinvestment zone, or TIRZ, for the Dog's Head area that uses new property tax revenue in that zone to fund its infrastructure.
And this is not a subsidy, this is not a tax break, this is reimbursement for public infrastructure, and we have numerous guardrails put into place.
Staff also revealed Amazon's robotics division as the first potential tenant.
There are no state, county, or local incentives being sought by Amazon for this deal.
Around the dais, concerns.
I'd like to see a robust displacement monitoring with public reports.
And questions.
Have you identified any areas of risk that we should still be mindful of?
As Tung and others,
even if this does go through, we can know that we did our best.
Fight for their neighborhood's future.
And that was Adam Bennett reporting. In a statement to KVU, an Amazon official said if they move forward with the project, they plan to create approximately 300 to 500 jobs. A proposed 4-acre swimming lagoon is making waves in Leander. After years of delays, the proposed Leander Springs complex is headed to City Council for a vote. It would be built near the corner of US 183A and RM 2243. KVU's Allison Hill explains the plan and why it's wading into controversy.
As Texas continues to grapple with ongoing water supply concerns, a proposed development in Leander is raising questions.
I live on a well that has run dry before, so I know what it feels like to get up in the morning and get about 30 seconds into your shower and nothing comes out. It's a sick feeling. So I think about water every single day.
At the center of the debate is a planned 4-acre swimming lagoon with a hotel and restaurants. Developers want to fill the lagoon by tapping water from the Middle Trinity Aquifer. Supporters say the complex will generate tax revenue, but some neighbors have concerns.
The truth is that Leander residents had to go through rounds of years of where we're literally told we cannot use water, we have to conserve, we have to conserve. So a lagoon is just such a luxury item in terms of water. It's like a spit in the face to our residents.
The developer, Leander Springs, disputes those concerns, telling KVUE studies show the project would not negatively impact nearby wells or use the city of Leander's municipal water system. The developer also says the lagoon would require the most water during its initial fill, with only a smaller amount needed each year to replace water lost through evaporation.
It's about a 2-month fill. After it is full the first time, then the yearly amount is equivalent to about what a family of 4 is going to use over a year, so a minuscule amount.
Meanwhile, the city of Leander says they cannot comment on an active zoning case, but that city council is expected to hear public input during its August 20th meeting.
We moved to hill country for a reason, to be in the hills and the limestone rocks. If we had wanted to move to the beach, we would have moved to Galveston.
Whatever city council decides, many neighbors say they hope the conversation sparks a broader discussion about water and growth in Leander. In Leander, Allison Hill, KVUE News.
And that's all from us here in Austin. Hope you have a great day.
Hi, I'm Leslie Adamy in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's happening here in South Texas. Well, history has been made at Corpus Christi City Hall as day 1 of the mayor removal hearing got underway. Mayor Paulette Guajardo is fighting to keep her office as council considers a petition seeking her removal.
Do you believe this will be a fair hearing?
We'll see. We'll see. You know, we're prepared, and the truth has always been out there. I have always stated that. And so today we will go through this as a formality, but I'm ready.
And this all stems from a petition filed by a group of residents over the city's investment in a controversial hotel development project. It argues that being the city's top elected official, that she failed in her duties during the approval process.
Simply put, Mayor was the city's leadership through a corrupt process that resulted in the award of $2 million. I think we all, it is, and there was some public comment talking about character, talking about integrity, and our public processes deserve more.
This hearing and the outcome will be indelibly imprinted in the history of the city. Throughout my service, I have made difficult decisions. I have taken positions that were not always popular because I believed that they were in the best interest of the people of Corpus Christi.
While the hearing centers on the mayor's conduct in office, it is not a criminal trial. The issue is whether she committed misconduct or neglect of duty that would warrant removal. Law enforcement has already investigated the matter and found no criminal wrongdoing. And the Frio River continues to spill out of its banks in McMullen County, forcing water rescues and even bringing in emergency crews from across the country. Michael Gibson shows us how first responders are navigating the high water.
I'm here along Congress Street at Frio, where the river has actually formed all of this water up and down the street. And that's why first responders from Florida right now are in that rescue boat. They're bringing out a woman and I believe her child and some of their valuables. That's really how bad some of this flooding has gotten.
That woman is Cindy Saucedo and her son Jonah. They're being ferried to safety after floodwaters swallowed Congress Street and cut off access to their home. With the water rising too fast and running too deep, walking out simply wasn't an option.
They were awesome. We thought that we could get in there without having to need assistance, but I guess at the end of the day, I am soaked all the way to my waist.
Once the rescue boat reached dry ground, Cindy's husband, Pete Saucedo, was there waiting. He says the family had already moved their livestock to higher ground, but overnight the floodwaters surged into their yard much faster than they expected.
The main thing we did, first thing we moved over the chickens and the goats, and they set 28 feet, you know. So we waited, then last night about 9:30, I look outside and I saw all the water in the backyard. I told my wife, you know something, babe? We need to move.
The flooding wasn't just impacting people. Here along Highway 72, water stretched across both sides of the roadway, leaving wildlife with nowhere to go. This fawn was trapped on the narrow strip of dry pavement, prompting a sheriff's deputy to protect it from traffic until a Texas game warden arrived to safely remove it. County leaders say scenes like these are why every available resource is critical during this flood response.
So we have approximately about 150 responders from different areas around the state and outside of the state that are volunteering here to be of service with Texas Task Force 1 and EMTF, which is Emergency Medical Task Force. They have been exponentially helpful.
So as you saw, that rescue was a successful one, and now these emergency first responders from Florida will wait to see if there's somebody else who needs their help here in the Tilden area. Michael Gibson, 3 News, back to the studios.
And that is a quick look at some of what's happening here in South Texas.
Here's your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. Over the past few months, there have been several incidents of youth violence in Beaumont, with many of those happening at or near city parks. 2 months ago, 12 News spoke with Councilman Joey Hilliard about what he thought was needed to keep our parks safe. One of his suggestions was more security cameras. And that proposal is now being considered under next year's city budget. 12 News reporter Daniela Tapata-Palau spoke with Councilman Hilliard again to find out where that plan stands now, especially as city leaders are working through a budget deficit.
Our youth are the future.
A future the city is looking to invest in with more cameras at parks.
You got to realize that from the time that trigger was pulled to the time the suspect was in handcuffs was an hour. And that wouldn't have happened without the cameras.
City Council is continuing to combat youth violence after several incidences in recent months have occurred at parks.
There's not adults out here with the kids all the time, you know, and I'm not saying it's just the kids.
Councilman Hilliard of Ward 2 says a $264,000 project is in consideration for the 2027 budget, adding up to 135 extra cameras spread throughout all city parks, a helpful tool for Beaumont Police Department.
You don't want to have a blind spot in your yard or something like that where something can happen and then it's not being seen, or we don't have witnesses to assist us with catching a suspect.
And although some residents are skeptical of the extra surveillance at parks, Janet Rideau says it's more than needed now.
I understand people are afraid for their privacy and things like that, but at this point, I think privacy is like maybe number 5 on the on the scale, because of, I mean, if you're not doing anything wrong, then what would it matter?
Council is still considering the project, and although council is going through a budget deficit, Hilliard says public safety is a top priority.
That's priority number 1. And the police have made great strides. And I think that the criminal element of Beaumont now understands that we are watching, and we are watching all the time.
And the city's budget, it is scheduled to be approved on September 8th. Well, a second man was arrested Tuesday in an assault last week on Corley Avenue in Beaumont. Police say that a bullet narrowly missed an elderly driver's head after someone fired into his vehicle at an intersection. Michael Doyle is the latest suspect arrested for aggravated assault in that case. Beaumont police, they've already arrested Darren Glaude last week on the same charge. And during a court hearing Tuesday in Jefferson County, Judge John Stevens upgraded a man's bond after he allegedly forced a child from a moving car. Brendan LaFleur, he is charged with injury to a child. Now, an affidavit says that he first hit a woman during an argument, causing her to fall from that moving vehicle that they were in. Investigators say that's when he also pushed her through a 1-year-old from the same car, injuring the child. His bond is set at $100,000. And a husband and a wife, they've been indicted, each on 1 count of livestock theft. Douglas and Janae Smith, they were arrested last month for alleged cattle rustling. Well, Jasper County investigators say that they bought or sold livestock using hot checks or checks from closed accounts at more than 10 auction barns across several counties. Also, a Jasper man accused of assaulting an elderly man, he's been indicted. Roy Smith, he's charged with injury to an elderly person. This is stemming from an incident at Fisherman's Retreat RV Park last September. Deputies say the 76-year-old victim needed medical help after this altercation. And a Louisiana man accused of leading officers on a high-speed chase through Jasper County last year, he's been indicted. George Park, he's charged with evading arrest and possession of a controlled substance. Deputies say that the chase last December, it reached speeds of more than 130 miles an hour before Park lost control of his motorcycle. He sideswiped a Texas Parks and Wildlife truck, and officers ultimately arresting him at the scene. They say that they found a meth and a pistol in his possession. Finally, a Jasper County grand jury has indicted a Beaumont man for indecency with a child. Danny Hancock, he turned himself into the Jasper County Sheriff's Office back in April. The Sheriff's Office says that it began investigating the allegation in March of last year. No other details in this case have been released. And those were the headlines here from Southeast Texas.